Season 2.
Season 2 of Source Needed.
We're back.
We're here. You have a good summer?
Yeah, it was a good summer.
Yeah.
I
Working
did
hard.
Working decently hard. I finished my thesis.
Yes.
Did some fun weekends away.
Yeah.
Bachelorette party. Like things. Yeah, just, you know.
I was a hardworking girl.
You were
this summer.
working hard. You were hustling. But now we're back because, I mean, why not? Let's do it again.
Yeah.
And people have been asking us, where's the podcast? When are you guys coming back? So thank you if you were one of those people, because you also inspired and motivated us to get back into it.
We need the motivation. Please be a little bit kind on Instagram. Give us some follows. Repost. We'll try to be over there a little bit more often.
I mean, I will be trying to be more on there. I feel like I let Liz do everything last time for the Instagram
You were doing
stuff.
your thesis, which, by the way,
True.
little spoiler for later in the season, we're going to be covering both of our theses, our master's theses, this season. So stick around for that. Blast from the past for me and a recent review for you.
Yeah, that's true.
The theme of today's episode is Sabrina Carpenter. If you're as chronically online as I am, then you know that her new album cover, Man's Best Friend, got a lot of attention a few months ago. And at the time this episode comes out, the album will be out, but we are recording this like a week prior to the album. And I'm a really big Sabrina Carpenter fan.
You are.
So I was intrigued at the idea of delving into her music and aesthetics through our like academic Source Needed lens. And pretty much as soon as I recommended it to Abby, she was like bursting with ideas and sources and Renaissance, contemporary, just a lovely, juicy mix.
And I think it's important to include those sources, because without it, it becomes very general commentary that anyone can engage in. And I think as valuable as that is, or as fun as it is to, you know, give your 2 cents on whether or not you like someone's album cover, I think it's so much more interesting to look at why you're even engaging in that critique, and actually like historically where the critique is coming from. And also like, why is Sabrina Carpenter sparking this debate, especially as a woman who is choosing to portray herself a certain way? So I wanted to look at kind of, more historical examples of specifically female artists who have also kind of struggled or wrestled with that same dilemma of, you know, do I choose to portray myself as a very pure, chaste woman? Or am I going to just lean into more of the sexualization? Or am I going to try to, you know, lean into a stereotype? And then we'll also in this podcast, I think, assess whether or not we think specifically Sabrina's album cover was successful in what we think she tries to convey. So, I mean, it is going to be, I love this topic. I think it's so interesting. There's so much interesting theory behind it. So you're going to get a little bit of past and present.
Yeah. And if you do want a little bit more of like the pop culture girly times, we've also recorded a listening party of the new album, which you can check out on YouTube.
Or we will be.
We haven't done it yet because, again, we're a week ahead.
Yeah.
So anything that we could be predicting the future, honestly.
I am really keen to see what direction she moves into.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
I want to start with your source today. I want to move in chronological order.
Yes. So I was introduced to Sofonisba Anguissola. I might be butchering that, but back during my exchange at McGill, and we specifically looked at this painting that I would encourage you, if you're listening, to pause and look it up. It's Bernardino Campi painting, Sofanisba Anguissola. It's an incredible painting because it's very ironic and it prompts a lot of questions. It's actually a painting of the artist being painted by her teacher.
So it's a double portrait in a way.
Indeed.
Yeah. He's shown as the artist painting a portrait of her, but she is the invisible artist who's painting the scene itself.
Exactly. And when I first kind of learned about this painting, I was really fascinated because why would a female artist of the time choose to include a portrait of herself being painted by her teacher? Was it perhaps an homage to him or what he taught her? Why did she feel the need to include a male figure in that painting? And the article does a really good job at kind of breaking down, okay, what could that motivation have been? One of the main arguments is, well, okay, in a sense, this kind of is a way for her to establish her importance, because if she's worthy enough of being painted by the famous Bernardino Campi, then she must be of a certain stature. And she was indeed a very noble woman. When she was working on this painting specifically, she was unmarried, she was childless, and she was kind of considered a marvel at the time for her talent, and also her ability to also specifically convey likeness in portraiture. So I think it's fascinating to think about how she kind of had to maybe portray herself with a man to kind of ascertain her status at the time. Yes, and the article later on talks about like the difference between their careers, that even though he was her teacher, she's the one who became more famous in her own right. She did portraiture for monarchy. She lived in Spain, she painted the queen, she taught the queen of Spain how to paint, versus her teacher who stays and just paints like wealthy people still in provincial Italy. Exactly. And then I think, so we can just, that's maybe the first layer of interpretation, is like very surface layer. But then if you look deeper, you can also question, like, okay, she's choosing to include her teacher, who ends up being less significant at the time of painting that. She probably couldn't have anticipated she would become so famous. But it's very fascinating, because actually, if you look at when she painted this specific painting, the portrait of herself that Campi is painting is something that he would not have been able to paint, because it's better than his, and also because she never sat for him to be painted. He never did her portrait. Indeed. Yeah. So she's almost kind of creating a sort of parody of him as an artist. Yeah. She's kind of almost taking away his agency, and she's saying, you're just kind of an accessory here. Yes. And I'm the invisible hand behind all of this. I'm setting up the stage for this kind of to take place. And also the portrait of her in this painting, that theoretically he's the artist painting via the image, isn't as good as the portrait of him in this painting. She's showing that she's a better artist. She's able to show him looking more alive than he is able to convey her portrait. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a way that she was able to kind of break through this mold of subject object, the subject being herself, or Sofonisba, the artist, and the object being the portrait of her. So, the figure in the painting. And it kind of collapses all of those boundaries into each other, which I think is such a fascinating way for a woman of that time to actually show such, an advanced perception of also understanding her place in society, which I think is such a contemporary, or something that we usually ascribe to more like contemporary, even feminist scholars, Judith Butler, like the whole thing of gender as performance. I think she kind of is already alluding to that in this time period, which is so incredible. That's why I love old masters, because they're actually so ahead of their time in many ways. Yes, there's a quote in here actually that exactly gets at that. Let me get it right. We have here an example of female mimicry, in which a woman artist mimics or acts out the roles of femininity in order to expose subversely the thing that she mimics. The postmodern emphasis upon the social construction of personal identity and gender roles was anticipated in the 16th century, a period defined by its own concepts of self-fashioning, dissimulation, and masking, and the artificial crafting of behavior. So good. I mean, this is not, it's it's just incredible because it shows that even during this time period, the whole notion of gender as performance, as masking a certain character was already something that scholars of the time, that artists were engaging with. And I think we don't actually get the words for that until so much later in this kind of like postmodern theory.
Feminist theory. Yeah.
Exactly. So I actually think that's a really good gateway
into
your article.
I agree, because actually right above this quote that I just read, I've written compare and contrast with the vocabulary used in the Sherman article.
Right.
So when we decided to do this episode about Sabrina Carpenter and like feminist aesthetics, the first thing that I thought of was the photographer Cindy Sherman. And Cindy Sherman worked in what decade? The 70s, 80s?
She's still working. She definitely started gaining more traction in the 90s, but started working in around 1975.
Okay. And she uses photography as her medium, but arguably also herself as a large part of the message that of the artwork that she's creating. Putting herself in different costumes, locations, very purposefully structuring the scene and the framing of the photograph to get at this sort of, again, breaking down of the performance of femininity.
Yeah, indeed. And I think this whole kind of way of using parody and using stereotypes to break through and deconstruct traditional ideas around femininity is just fascinating, because she kind of, in a way, that's also what Sofonisba was doing in the Renaissance. You know, one of the main stereotypes that you would have dealt with as a woman was also the female body being a sort of metaphor or paragon for beauty,
a subject.
You were always a subject. And I think...
an object.
An object.
Object, not subject.
Not
subject has more like drive,
agency
behind it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's such a cool way to kind of invoke a contemporary example. Sherman actually in a way is grappling with the same thing that, you know, a Renaissance woman would have grappled with, something women still grapple with. I think quickly for listeners, I would pause and look up Cindy Sherman's untitled film stills. I think that's a good place to start. It's also her early work, and then you can actually go to more contemporary examples where she really, like some of the characters she plays, or the characters that she embodies become so over the top and grotesque. Like she also poses as, you know, like a trucker, or like very like over the top. She starts to cross dress. She starts to become this kind of like fantastical version of herself, but all in pursuit of kind of showing the viewer how ridiculous it is, how much we perform our identity in our day-to-day lives.
It's drag.
It's literally drag.
Yeah.
Which is so fun. I love that she is able to do that through her work. And I think back to Sofanisba, Anguissola, I think she also does this. She's also kind of showing how she was kind of asserting a certain role, sitting for that portrait, being painted by her teacher at the time. And at the same time, she's also challenging that version of herself, because she is the one behind the canvas. Yeah. And she's the painter. So I feel like there's
the director, the photographer.
Exactly. So it's also very much a breaking through or breaking down of this idea of women being like, you know, chaste, and Sherman does this so well with like the stills of her as a housewife, but she never is engaging with the kitchen supply. She's always looking away. She's subverting the role. She's challenging it.
That's something. Okay, I don't think that we said the title of this article, so I do want to say that before we get too far into it. The Female Identity Being Performed: Gender Rebellion in Cindy Sherman's Photography by Lingfei Chen. And before I interrupted you, you were commenting on her eye line, right? Like where she's looking in these photographs. She doesn't look directly at the viewer. She's often looking off out of frame. Yeah. And this eye line is something that the article really draws on that I didn't fully grasp. It talks about like the traditional magazine femininity, the image, and combining it with a wandering eye. Sherman used eyes to deconstruct the audience's gaze on the female body, and she made the women in her works be restored into a mentally paranoid and possessed individual, as well as human beings with personal feelings and thoughts. So is it saying that like by having the eye line be off out of frame, it's showing that they're like in their own heads? It's breaking down that connection that you have with them as the viewer.
Yeah, I think it's creating this disinterest because at the same time, herself as object, right? So Sydney Sherman is portraying herself as an object of the male gaze, but her character seems entirely disinterested or even aware of the male gaze.
Despite being placed in those scenarios.
Exactly. So understand. She's unaware, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of challenges what a viewer might expect from seeing a woman in a kitchen, or a woman leaning or gazing out the window, or in a very kind of traditional and feminine role.
Yes, and especially in the 70s, with the feminist movement, the contrast of having her placed in this very stereotypical female role and not looking at the view. Like, I feel like the feminists of the time might have been a little aggro about this, because it's like, we want that agency. We want you to be breaking it down, break the fourth wall, show us why this is bad. Right. And she's not. She's undermining both the male gaze, but also this like feminist idea at the time that's like, we have to have agency.
So indeed, I mean, what you're actually hitting the nose on this.
Yeah.
One of the major critiques of Sydney Sherman's work is that she is engaging in a sort of fetishism of women.
And who have we heard that about as well?
I
mean, most women who do anything sexual on the internet, but also specifically Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
That has been a big critique with her Man's Best Friend album cover specifically.
Yeah, and we're specifically referring, because she's now come out with alternative covers to the original. So for the listeners, it's the cover where she is bent down. You see kind of this unknown character. It could be a man, it could even be a woman.
Some people have said it might be her.
It might be her, and he's holding her hair and she's looking at us. And the title is Man's Best Friend. And I think this prompted a lot of anger on the internet.
Yeah.
My first reaction was also like, ooh, I don't know about that. I feel like, I don't know. It's just, I'm like, You can also try to look at that album cover without any biases or like prejudices, but it's actually impossible to. And that's something that the Sherman article talks about, and specifically the French philosopher Baudrillard, who talks about how in our kind of like our post-modern reality, the only way that we can even interpret anything is through this like chain of symbols.
Yes.
And I think the reason why also this cover like prompts such a kind of distasteful reaction, or people are very upset about it, is because we immediately think about, this pose that she's holding the title of the album as something that
the hair being pulled, her on all fours, the title of the album, all these things.
It's submissive
with what you're talking about, the symbol chains.
Yeah.
And that's also what you were talking about a little bit when with Sofanisba, how we're relying on these visual cues in order to understand these, like the meaning of the artist.
Right.
Which Cindy Sherman uses a lot in her work. She has like the repetition of costumes or wigs or things that are, the article specifically mentions like the apron is the symbol of the housewife. And so she has herself in an apron, but she doesn't have herself engaging with the housework in the way that you would expect. So that's how she undermines it, uses irony. And I saw a really great analysis of the album cover that essentially was like, yes, I can see the argument for this being like trying to subvert the initial visual, right? Like looks at first glance very male gaze, but she's the one who's constructing it. She's the one who has, she's the subject as well as the object of this painting. Same as the Sofanisba
right, like
painting.
she does have a choice in choosing to portray herself that way.
Yes,
but I don't think that
the visual cues within the album cover are strong enough to convey to the viewer that this is supposed to be taken ironically.
Exactly. And I think it would be so much more effective if the person holding her hair had like nail polish or like long nails, or it was Sabrina holding her own hair and being like, girl, get up. Yeah. Or like something where it does become it kind of plays with gender roles and stereotypes and notions of domination and submission to kind of subvert the myth or subvert the stereotype. And I don't think that she achieves that. I'm missing that like kind of intellectual detail.
This TikTok video I saw specifically called it out and was like, this would be more effective at subverting the male gaze if instead of making her look very sexy and almost pornographic, it like pushed that aesthetic farther and made it distasteful to the male gaze, which is something I think that she did with the Short and Sweet album, doing this like hyper 1950s effeminate woman. That's not really for the male gaze because it's so girly, it's so femme. People have called it drag as well, in like just taking this performance of femininity to a level that actually is distasteful to men, whereas this album cover is not that. It's very porn. It's calling on like porn and those visuals. So if she pushed it farther, and actually what comes to mind is Cindy Sherman's contemporary selfies, which if you go on Instagram you can see she has, it's like this warped, distorted, almost melting visual of her face is something that she's been exploring in recent years, and I kind of would have loved to see that as that would be visual.
Just to kind of like lean into the vulgarity, because that type of vulgarity is more effective because it's not like because it requires some level of like engaging with the way that you are being perceived as a woman and like challenging that. And I think for me, this album cover very much is just kind of giving, I don't know, like maybe just I find it to be like slightly vulgar in its own way because it is so sexual. But I feel like, I don't know, I think she just could have taken it another step further, but at the same time, while I'm saying this, I'm thinking to myself, like, why does she have to? Should she even, like, is that something we can ask from?
This is where I'm gonna step in, because as a big Sabrina Carpenter fan, I actually do feel like I have a pretty good grasp on her aesthetics over the last few albums. So her first few albums were all dictated by whatever production company she was working for, right? And the visuals in turn also are just sort of like whatever they think is gonna sell. It's really when she has her 2 albums ago, Emails I Can't Send, that she starts having more control over both the music and the visuals. And the visuals for Emails I Can't Send are fine. We were just watching some music videos earlier, and I think that definitely the standouts are Nonsense and definitely Feather. I actually think Feather is her strongest music video from that album, because she's also sort of getting into the visuals that she's going to use in Short and Sweet, which was the big album that she had last year that everybody knows. It's got Espresso, Please, 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 those hits. I think visually, Short and Sweet is a better album. Like, it's very cohesive. We have Espresso leading into Please, Please, Please.
It's very Dolly Parton.
Yes, and she has Dolly Parton as well.
Yeah,
like,
true.
And it's cohesive. Her costuming, it is not only used in the music videos, it also is used in her performance, in her public appearances. She's got this branding down with the last album. But I think in terms of story and music, Emails I Can't Send is actually a stronger album.
Interesting.
And I did a re-listen after I saw Man-Child, because when I saw Man-Child, the music video, I lost my mind.
Okay, so what you should know about Liz is that she loves old movies, and this music video is so good because it's referencing like all of the classics.
Yeah.
And I actually think that Man-Child, and I'm not a huge Sabrina Carpenter fan, like I like some of her music. In general, I feel like, I don't know, I definitely had an era of being really into pop, and I still think it has its time and place, but I don't find myself, I'm not a huge fan of I don't know, I just kind of like got out of the fangirl phase. I feel like I just haven't had that since being like a teenager with any artist. But it's really funny because I think this specific music video was like, oh, I love that, it's smart, it's like surrealist.
I had it projected on like my big screen projector, and I started screaming at it like, this is surrealism.
I feel like that any artist that can like tap into that, whether they thought of it themselves or the creative director or like the producers, whatever did, I can start like appreciating. I'm like, I love that. Okay, you're like, we're doing some referencing to the past. We're thinking about our self-image, how we're portraying them ourselves. And I actually think that just like Sofonisbas painting, the men in that music video are very much accessorized.
Oh yeah,
they do not serve any specific purpose. I mean, even if you listen to the lyrics of the song, you can tell. I mean, she's basically just questioning,
she's
like,
just cycling through men. She's
like, but you know, everyone seems to be, all of these men seem to kind of be inadequate. They don't know how to tie their own shoes. And it's funny because the music video, I think it really highlights that even though she's the quote unquote fool for going back to these men, the men are also fools, but just for being men and how they are. So I think I was like, okay, I like that. That was well done and really like cleverly and nice, like just well produced, well made.
And part of the reason I thought it was so well done is because I'm such a big fan of Emails I Can't Send. Because we were talking earlier off camera about how with Sabrina Carpenter and Taylor Swift and so many female artists specifically, people are really obsessed with like, who is this song about? Exactly, especially because they're dating other famous people, and you know, there's all of like the tea, the gossip behind that. But whereas Short and Sweet, it was definitely people trying to be like, this song's about this person, this song's about that person. There's a little bit of that on Emails I Can't Send, but in general, if you listen to the album top to bottom, it's like an album of the music video Man-Child, because every song, it's not like she's going on about the same guy over and over. It feels like every song is a different facet of like dealing with these men and different frustrations that we have as women. And this is also why I love that album so much more than Short and Sweet, because Short and Sweet has some bangers, but there's not like a cohesion to the album narratively. And what I'm really hoping with Man's Best Friend is that we get these beautiful visuals that we've been promised with Man-Child. We've got the branding behind her that she's built up over the last album, but I want to have a redemption arc with this last album, and then that will open her up to do something new going forward as well. That's really what I want.
Let's see. I mean, I think people also like contrast Olivia Rodrigo with Sabrina Carpenter a lot, and Olivia kind of represents like the angsty version and like very like a bit more like Black Cat energy. I just think it's really interesting how in general I think female artists, specifically in the pop space, very much have to kind of build this persona. I mean, we really, let's like re-emphasize here that how much of this is performance, and I think it's fun. I mean, it's art, it's creative. You can build up that persona and then you can choose to break away from it. I mean, I remember like when Taylor Swift came out with Reputation, it was like, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah.
This is just like,
you have to reinvent yourself every few years.
And people were so upset. And now people really love that album later because they see her kind of progression. But yeah, I guess I think for longevity, and I'm not a musician, so I can't like give advice, but I think it is really important to, when you're reinventing yourself, to always maintain this awareness of, okay, like, what am I actively choosing, or how am I actively choosing to portray myself, and how is that advancing or perhaps like kind of diminishing my, let's call it like my social my cultural capital
I think,
as an artist. I think like, yeah, and also like, how am I situated in the broader canon of music history, and like what type of, I don't know, I just really appreciate like artists that have awareness.
And I think that this is why I have such high hopes for this album, is because I think Sabrina does have all of that,
and I think
she's
does.
A smart girl. I think she knows what she's doing. I definitely know that she's got a really great back catalog of songs. Like, she is a lover of music genuinely. But no, you're right, there's just this, Jamila Jamil has made basically a mini career specifically over talking about how like we build women up in society and pop culture, and then we tear them down. And so when the album cover for Man's Best Friend came out, the first thing I thought was like, oh, people are going to be mad about this and they're going to tear her down. Like last year she was top of the chart. She was crazy famous. And now it's like, okay, we're done with that.
I mean, going back to like the paragon of beauty and this like the female body as the metaphor for beauty and art, and if that is the currency that all of these women are, maybe they are playing into, not that they want to, but that's just part of the game.
That
like
is the game.
Youth and your beauty. I mean, that's your ticket as well as your talent, of course. But of course, it makes sense that then at some point when you kind of fall out of fashion, that currency, it moves on to the next, because there's always someone younger coming up next. And I think that's kind of the cruel side of that industry. Honestly, like, I'm so always in awe of anyone that can like go into that world and maintain any of it. And I understand also, I mean, there's so often like as women, we criticize some of these older actresses that get work done and they can't move their face anymore in wmovies. And you're like, well, why'd she do that to her face? And then at the same time, we're also the ones that, love when there's a new shiny thing coming up that's, 18. And we're like, yay, there's a new pop girly. Like, all right, out with the old, like, let's get the new thing going. So yeah, we really have to start practicing what we preach. And I think when we do see women who choose not to get work done, let's like
Pamela Anderson.
Let's
Pamela Anderson Renaissance, by the way.
And just celebrate that and be like, gorgeous. But also women that do choose to get it done, like, okay, let's just be easy on everyone and women in general, because like,
I don't want to be spending any of my time critiquing women too hard.
No,
honestly,
because it ain't
so
easy.
Exhausting.
There's no right answer to like handling any of this when it comes to performing your gender as a woman.
No,
because everything is rooted in some type of, Judith Butler, you should read some of her work as well, or their work. And yeah, it's super, I think we're really just hitting the tip of the iceberg here.
I'm excited to do the listening party for the album, so that's already out on YouTube. Go check that out. I'm sure that we have a blast. Hopefully that my whole entire opinion of Sabrina doesn't get ruined.
That would be really funny.
Also, I would feel so like such a hypocrite if it did.
I'm sure it won't.
Also, I don't want to put this much power into the hands of fucking celebrities
as well.
No, it's fun. Exactly. Cultural capital. I don't know. I don't want to get into a whole new topic like 30 seconds before we're ending the episode, but it does mean a lot to me because I love art so much.
Yes, and you are someone who very much, and I am the same, I do see artists, whether you're a musician, an actress, a visual artist, I do think, and celebrities in general, I do think that they have some responsibility, and that's a whole debate, you know? It's like, can you force this person to take responsibility for the image that they're portraying or performing, especially if that is potentially a harmful image. I mean, I'm thinking of like, you know, the Kardashians or anyone who's getting work done and saying it's natural, you know, and like, yeah, because that's not really helpful. No. Like, I just think I want to see more honesty. People that are
transparency.
People playing with like radical authenticity. Like, here's me when I wake up in the morning at 7:30 a.m. and I don't have any makeup on, and here's me when I'm in drag or I'm performing. Like, I love that contrast, and I think somewhere within those extremes is like the way to deconstruct kind of the gender ideals or norms around femininity, like somewhere between.
But I'm actually so drawn to the like specifically the hyper performance, because my favorite pop girly is Gaga, like Die Hard, Till the Day I Die, and she, especially in the age range that Sabrina's in right now, she only did character. She only portrayed herself in like this hyper whatever,
sensationalized, curated. No, I think Gaga's a great example. Chapel Rowan. I mean, I think it's really fun to see, and I think ultimately, like, I feel like I just got distracted because Gabe entered the room. I can't remember what I was gonna say. No, it's fine.
I feel like we got away from the plot a little bit toward the end there.
But I did like where we were going.
Yeah,
I was gonna say something really good.
Yeah, it's not our fault. Blame the men. Known.
But I think let's end it. Okay. Bye guys.